Hello crafty people! Summer has arrived here, and in fact it seemed to just go from winter to summer, and spring just got sucked up by summer, and it got really hot all of a sudden, which always leaves me with the problem of clothing. Well, I bought this the other day from the second-hand shop, and I couldn't get it out of my mind thinking how nice that might look on the back of something to wear. And I have this kimono pattern that I've had for a couple of years now because my daughter, or my stepdaughter, but it just doesn't sound very nice, does it, stepdaughter? But my daughter wanted me to make her a kimono. So she had picked out a material. I mean, you don't even need a pattern really for kimono because it's simple, but I kind of do need a pattern. So I got this really simple one, and I've made it a couple of times. I've made it for my daughter, I've made one for my son, I've made one for me last year that I just wear in the house. And so I thought I would have a go at putting this on the back of a kimono that I could actually wear out a bit. So I got these also, second-hand shop. I paid €3 for kind of bits of bundles. So a couple were 50 centimes and another was €2. But they were all kind of rolled up, so you didn't really know what you were getting. And when I got them home, I just washed them, unbundled them. Was looking to see what kind of state the material was in. And they're different types of fabric, they're different thicknesses. So I chose to use, this sheet in the end and do it all in the same material. So this is a bed sheet that was in that package. And I've got some ideas for dyeing fabric as well, but they're just things that are floating around my head for the moment. So I've washed, dried and ironed, and the idea that I have in my head is to put some patchwork on either side of this embroidery. So down the back, but then also continue it down the front. So I'd cut out some different size squares to see what size looks the best. I'd tried a really small one and then I tried a bigger one, and in the end I settled for squares that were 8 by 8 centimetres, and I knew already that I wanted quarter square triangles. That was just in my head, it was kind of always going to be like that. So 8 by 8 centimetres, and I'm going to make the quarter square triangles. So right sides together. I'm going to draw a line from corner to corner. It doesn't matter if this pen is permanent or not, because this is going to be your cut line, and you're going to sew about 6 millimeters, about a quarter of an inch at each side of this line that we've just drawn diagonally. So it's easier to just chain piece them once you start, cut out a big bundle, and I'm trying to put a light square and a dark square together. And I've tried to use the colours that I thought went the best with the embroidery that we're putting on the back. So I sewed all the way down one side and made a big chain, and then sewed all the way down the other side. So you get this big long line, and then you cut them all open along the diagonal line that we drew. I don't know why I didn't get any video of cutting along the line, but I didn't. I don't know. And then you open them up, you press it to the darker side. And once it's pressed, I'm cutting it down to size. I really, really like this little ruler here. It's small and easy to handle, and I am lining up the diagonal line with the diagonal line that's already on the ruler. And it's been so hot that now there's some storms, but it's really nice to have rain, and I just feel like rain is really nice sewing weather. So in the evening while it's raining outside, I get on with sewing these squares together. So once they're cut open, press to the darker side. I put 2 together and match them up, nest them together. So fiddle around with them until you feel that the 2 seams are matching up. You can feel it usually, and then draw a diagonal line again in the opposite direction. So you're making a nice big X. Again, this line is the cut line. And so you're going to start the same operation again. Sew into 1/4 inch, about 6 millimeters to one side, and then down to the other side as well. And then cutting it open along the line that you've made. But obviously the rotary cutter is a lot faster. And then when you open it up, there you have your square. And so we're going to match these up by putting the dark triangle next to a light triangle. So I'm trimming it off again, putting the diagonal lines along, making sure things are nice and squared up. And the most important thing is that they're just all the same size. And this is the nice bit for me. Sitting fiddling around with different colours, cutting the shapes out, listening to the rain outside. And although it was raining, it was really hot, so all the doors were open and the windows, and it was nice evening. So before too long, I had all these lovely 1/4 square triangles that I'm really enjoying, and feel like I should be making something else instead of a kimono, but I'm not. I'm gonna persist. So this is the idea: to do strips along both sides and try and see how many I need to go right down the back and right down the front. Therefore, I am joining them all together in rows and putting a light colour together with a dark colour so that it fits in nicely. Again, you can feel it with your fingers, or you can put a pin in it if you like. So in the end, I decided to use 16 squares for each side. So 32 squares for the back, 32 squares for the front. And because I want this embroidery to go at a certain place on my back, I've added a little bit of fabric to each side of the embroidery. But I didn't really measure anything, I just eyeballed it all, and I don't like calculating. It sucks the joy out of me when I have to do maths. So anyway, I've added some white strips to each side of the row of squares so that it's nicely positioned on my back. And there's the initials on the sheet, BL. Thank you, Mr. or Miss BL. And I'm eyeballing it again against the pattern just to see how much fabric I'll have to add on to the other side of the row to make it big enough for my back. So there it is, with a couple more strips of white added to the outsides. And I think that's the beauty of something like a kimono, because it's almost like having a blank canvas, because it literally is a rectangle with the neck piece cut out, and so you really can do what you like. So at the end of the weekend, I hung it up like this, trying to be all organised, and all the other bits was in one of these boxes. I'm very, very proud of being organised like that, because I'm usually not at all. I know I won't have time to work on it during the week, and I'm sick of looking for things. I'm always losing things. So the weekend after, red hot, and it was a school fair. This was before it actually started. I passed in the morning and it was already boiling hot. And because it was so sunny, they did it in the gym at least all the singing and dancing part. But it wasn't much cooler inside. I was sweating. And I'm from the northeast of England. I'm not built for this kind of heat. So I got back in about 5 o'clock, all bedraggled, and got everything out the box and started stitching again. And well, I was so organised, I just had to open the box and everything was in front of us. So the only thing to do on the front was to make sure that the patchwork squares lined up on the front and the back, on the shoulders. Once again, no real measuring, just kind of feeling it. I'm one of those kind of sewers. So I'm just cutting out the facing for each side of the front and the neck at the back. And this is the part that I enjoy the least because this is more of like proper garment sewing, whereas really what I like is putting in the shapes and the colour. I like the patchwork bit basically, don't I? What? Inside out? Oh. And this is why I don't do a lot of garment sewing, because I've just got no concentration and start sewing things upside down, inside out, the wrong way around. And there we go. A bit of sewing, 2 weekends, a bit in the morning, a bit in the evening. Much less hot today, so it's very nice. Thank you so much for watching. Like it if you've liked it, and you can subscribe if you wanna.